So Ernst was born on the 1st of December into an observant Jewish family from Stamocin into the Prussian province of Posen. In August 1914, he voluntarily enlisted for war services in the Bavarian Heavy Artillery Regiment. Having felt treated as a second-class citizen because of his Jewish background, he hoped that the war would offer an opportunity for full-fledged social integration. In his autobiography, he writes that Kaiser Wilhelm II, last German emperor, called for a Bundesfragen, or a civil truce, which envisioned a true community of Germans, which had a great impact on him and sent him to war in 1914. His war experiences were disenchanting and traumatic to say the least. Posted close to the meat grinder slaughterhouse Verdun, Toller experienced frontline warfare, trench warfare, attritional warfare, and the horrors of war firsthand. In the spring of 1916, he physically collapsed and was declared unfit for war service in January 1917. Released from his duties in the spring of 1916, before the Somme, Toller settled in Munich, where he attended university. He established friendships with other war veterans such as the sculptor Kurt Kohner, the students Eugen Roth and Erich Tollemer, and he tried to make sense of his war experience. He embraced a tolerant universalism and influenced by the literary and activist expressionism, a belief in the need for humanity's spiritual transformation. By the summer of 1917, he started to write his first drama, Die Grundlage, or The Transformation, for 1919. So the play is basically about a war volunteer or a war veteran who has the transformation from a nationalist warrior into a human pacifist. Basically, his story. In the early fall of 1917, Toller attended the second and third conferences in Prague-Rheinstein in Upper Franconia, organized by the publisher Eugene Tarachukin, to rethink the role of the cultural establishment within wartime Germany. There he met the poet Herke Dellmann, the painter Karl E. Hoffmann, and the sociologist Max Weber. Toller would later write that the lack of intelligent leadership during this meeting convinced him that we, the young ones, has to act on their own in their quest for new spiritual values. So in the fall of 1917, Toller moved to Heidelberg to attend university. He joined Max Weber's famous Sunday Circle and a group of students around the Austrian socialist and women's rights activist Kathleen Feig, who took a critical stance against this war, responding to increasingly radical forms of nationalism and more concretely to the harassment of the pacifist professor Wilhelm Friedrich Roester by the Volkslicht students in Munich. Toller sought to transform Feig's group from a students' league that advocated a tolerant humanist universalism. He called for a radical change in mindset, taking inspiration from Gustav Lander's Aufruhr zum Sozialismus, or the Call for Socialism, from 1911, which provided a anarcho-socialist perspective on the organization of human society. Lander's book also influenced Die Grundlage, which Toller had more or less finished by the end of that year. Alarmed by a polemic between Toller and his critics in the press, Heidelberg professors publicly distanced themselves from Toller in December 1917, while the General Army Command in the Baden Army Corps expelled the Austrian members of the League from Germany. So Toller quickly fled to Berlin, where he met in January 1918 Kurt Eisner, one of the founders of the Pacifist Independent Social Democratic Party of Germany, or the USPD. Afraid that the army might suspend his release from war services because of his Heidelberg actions, Toller decided to leave for Munich a few weeks later to visit the headquarters of the 1st Bavarian Army Corps, of which his regiment was a part of. He also wanted to finish his studies in the city of Munich and seek support for his league in Munich. Shortly after his arrival, Eisner organized mass meetings and strikes in Munich, calling for democracy and for peace. Toller's involvement in these events led to his imprisonment from February to April 1918. Good job, Toller. Good job. When Eisner proclaimed Bavaria a republic on the 7th of November 1918, kicking off the instability of the Weimar era, in Munich, 2 days before the German Republic was proclaimed in Berlin, Toller was at his mother's home in Landsberg der Antwerter, which is now Grozno Wielkopolska. Later that month, he returned to Munich, where he began to support the workers' and soldiers' councils, which were called Rates and not Soviets. These councils had emerged everywhere in Germany since the Kiel Mutiny in late October, and offered a version of a direct, participatory democracy. They lost political strength in December 1918, when the Social Democratic Party of Germany, or the SPD, voted in favor of a parliamentary system, against the council system, and the governing national coalition between the SPD and the USPD broke up. However, after Eisner's assassination in February 1919, advocates of the council system in Bavaria proclaimed a council republic, or a Rata Republik, in April 1919. In a tumultuous meeting, Toller, a member of the Central Workers' Council, or the Zentrale Arbeiterrat since late 1918, and the chairman of the Munich USPD since late March, became chairman of the Central Workers' Council. This catapulted him to the official head of the newly founded Council Republic, or Rata Republic of Bavaria. Toller did not develop a clear political program of late 1918 to early 1919, but continued to advocate an anarchical inclined idea of democracy and humanist socialism within Bavaria until the Bavarian Rata Republic under Toller's leadership was short-lived. 1 week after its proclamation, Communists took over and sought to transform the fleeting state into a Russian-style Soviet republic, where actual Russians took over. His critique of these actions not without standing, Toller accepted a position as a commander of the troops that defended the communist-ruled republic against the Social Democratic Berlin government. His critiques of these actions not without standing, Toller accepted a position as a commander of the troops that defended the communist-ruled republic against the Social Democratic Berlin government, which declared war on the Bavarian Rata Republic. In spite of a victory every now and then, the Council Republic was soon defeated by General Wilhelm, with various supports from various Freikorps units, especially the Iron and, of course, the SS. Toller was sentenced to 5 years in prison for high treason. Toller tried to distance himself from party politics after the Bavarian episode, but remained politically engaged until the 1920s. But in the 1920s, he became a very successful playwright. He took plays in a pacifist and a cosmopolitan stance, and expressed a commitment to humanism and non-party bound socialism. He also addressed the ills of the First World War, for example in Der Deutsches Heikemann, or the German Heikemann, in 1923. He took on the themes of male sexual incompetence and impotency, and the destruction of the family life during and after the war. Due to the opposition to Nazi politics, Soviet background, communist background, pacifist background, and of course, the most deadly of all, his Jewish background, Toller was forced into exile in 1933. In May 1939, he committed suicide in New York. In 1939, he committed suicide in New York, when his brother and his sister died in the concentration camps, the first of their kind, in 1939. And that is the story of the communists, the man, the myth, the legend, the Rata Republic leader by default, Ernst Toller. And I guess that's it. There's nothing else to say. He was interesting to say the least. But I must say, if you're dealing with suicidal thoughts and you don't think there's a way out, there's always a way out, because let me tell you, I've been dealing with a couple myself. Not suicidal, but just some, like, you could do better, and self-hatred a little bit. But it has come to the point where I realized that, sure, you have to try your best. Don't get me wrong. You can't be like, blah, 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 blah. That sounded great, dude. The end. But at the same time, if you say, Die Rata Republik of Berlin Österreich, and you're like, you could be a bit more German when you said it perfectly. I think that's starting to self-hate on yourself. But anyway, let me see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. And I really want to say, it's been a pleasure, dudes. Back to work, so 2 to 3 videos a week, but it's been fun while it lasted, but I'm still here, dude. But I'll see you in a couple, dude. But anyway, hope you enjoyed. Remember, if you're feeling sad, try and self-love yourself. And I don't know what to say, man. I don't know how to deal with this kind of thing. I get like 2 views a video, so I'm not really a big influence, but for those who watch, thanks for watching. And also, there's I'm gonna show you something before the video ends. Yep, I'm gonna actually edit something that is not gameplay in it, and it's basically whatchamacallit. It's basically a Dalek like picture So I guess you can say he's kind of the father of the Dalek, or the inspiration for the Dalek. But anyway, this video has gone on long enough, and I must say it was that was an ending. Let me tell you, suicides. That was a bit much, dude. But if you want to learn more about Ernst, there is his Wikipedia and his World War I encyclopedia that I will link in the description below, and of course you can see it everywhere. And I'll also link you to 2 other things that I did, and one thing from another creator, and that's pretty much it. Ooh, the trench carbine is out. Sorry guys, I'm just looking at YouTube. Yeah, I'm not paying too much attention. It's still a hobby, dude. It's still a hobby. But anyway, hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. And remember, the reason capitalism would fall is because of dark side Phil. When the hungry capitalist pig has finally had enough, we will rise up and not donate to his overdraft bank account. We will not donate to his overdraft bank account for several years at this point. And we will not buy his groceries no more. And we the people, will obviously put gout in the chat. Alright. I guess that was a bit of a low blow. Gout is kind of a hereditary thing. Supposedly, Phil. Supposedly. But let's see. Alright, you're not going to go after his wife. That's a bit harsh. Let me see. Cap. Jasper, $2,000 for a cap. Sure. Tutankhamun. That was a bit of a troll. I don't know, but capitalism would end when Darkside Phil cannot get any more tips. That is the glorious day of the revolution. But anyway guys, seriously, enough ragging on Phil and Wings of Redemption. Learn something and stop e-begging.
Wir hatten vor dieser Reportage eine Testfahrt unternommen. Es gab dabei kaum Probleme mit den Bildern, aber erhebliche Schwierigkeiten bei der Aufzeichnung verständlicher Töne. Deshalb bekommen die Männer hier zusätzlich Sender in die Jackentaschen und hochempfindliche Mikrofone an die Krawatten. Das ist Obermeister Dieter Puhlmann, 42 Jahre alt, der Streifenführer.
Und dann zuknappen wieder, ja? Kann ich sie wieder zumachen.
Sein Partner auf dem Funkwagen, Obermeister Arno Koschwitz, 40 Jahre alt. Wir heften uns nun an ihre Fersen während ihrer Streifenfahrten im Revier 64 im Berliner Stadtbezirk Prenzlauer Berg. 2 Tage und 2 Nächte lang.
Toni 06 268 kommen.
Der Angriff gegen die Sowjetunion ist der Stoß ins Herz der Revolution. Und der Krieg, der jetzt durch die Länder geht, ist der Krieg gegen